Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today you kind of have a like a Dutch angle because it's kind of slanted. And it's because my steering wheel is slanted and it's locked in place. So sorry for that. But today we're talking about being careful with who you're vulnerable with. So vulnerability. I've talked about it before, but to be vulnerable is to express your deepest thoughts and desires and your pressure points and your sensitive information. And it's to open up to somebody and to share your weaknesses and the things you've been through, and some of the things you might be sensitive to. And some people don't really understand vulnerability, and they don't understand why they would want, like, why would I want my partner to be vulnerable? I want them to be strong and, unbreakable and blah, 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 blah. But the reality is nobody is unbreakable and nobody is strong 24/7. We all have insecurities. We all have vulnerabilities. We all have weak points. We all have chinks in our armor. So it basically comes down to you have to decide who you're going to be vulnerable with, because at some point in your life you will be vulnerable with people. Like, it's going to happen. You will connect with somebody and you will share things that you've never shared with before, and you have to be very careful with who that is, because for one, sometimes people will use your vulnerabilities against you. You'll be fighting with somebody and they bring up one of your vulnerabilities and it feels like a slap in the face. Like they've totally backstabbed you, they've betrayed you. It's not fun and you really regret opening up. And then next time around, you're like, I'm not going to be vulnerable with these people again. And it makes you a lot more insular. Like you sort of retreat into your skin and you're like, okay, I'm not going to let anybody else know about this or that, or I'm not going to open up about this because this person's just going to hurt me. So what it really comes down to is being able to choose people in your life who aren't going to betray you, aren't going to backstab you or use your vulnerability against you. And that is like an incredibly difficult thing to do, and to find those people that you can trust and that you feel are safe and good for you. It's a real difficult thing. I think here's my advice on how to find people to be vulnerable with and how to know if somebody in your life is worthy of such a role. I think the first one is these people have always been they've always been on your side. They've always given you the honest truth. They've always told you when you've done something wrong, or when they've done something wrong, or when a third party has done something wrong. These people are honest with you. They don't need anything from you. They're not dependent on you for anything. Sometimes you encounter people and for whatever reason, they develop like a dependence on you. Those are not good people to be vulnerable with and to open up to, because if you ever jeopardize what they're getting out of you, or if you ever jeopardize like the potential of like, oh, this person's not going to be in my life anymore, they can really betray your trust and your vulnerability. And so you want to be equals in a relationship. You don't really want there to be any kind of caveat. A good example of this is when you are gay and you need to be careful about opening up and coming out of the closet to your parents, because you might live with your parents. You might require your parents' support and attention. And if you're vulnerable with them and they betray your vulnerability and they get super mad that you're gay, or there's so many bad stories and heartbreaking stories about a parent betraying a child's vulnerability. And we've seen that in the news recently as well. So I think you need to be on an equal footing with somebody that you're going to be vulnerable with. I think having a shared experience together, I don't think you want to be vulnerable with somebody that you don't really know well, or that you've only known for a little while and you don't really know them very well. I think that's a big risk. So there are several factors that come into play when deciding if you're going to be vulnerable with someone. But there are several benefits to being vulnerable with someone. And one of the biggest ones is sort of the bond you create with someone that you're vulnerable with. When I share my vulnerabilities with someone, I have created a bond with them and I trust them. And that trust increases when they know my vulnerabilities. They know the things I've been through, they know the difficulties and the hardships and all of that thing. And so, vulnerability can be a very powerful boost to trust and closeness in a relationship, whether it's a dating relationship or with a friendship or a family member or whatever it is. Being vulnerable creates a lot of strength internally and a lot of trust, because not only do I trust you telling you this, but you also trust me to as like convey the same thing. So there are some benefits to being vulnerable. There's obviously some negatives. You need to be careful with who you're vulnerable with and really think about it critically. And then another thing you should do is you should ask yourself, why do I feel like I want to be vulnerable with this person? What is making me feel like I can tell them this thing or something about me? What exactly do I see? What do I see going forward? Is there a real benefit to sharing my vulnerability with this specific person? And do I see this relationship going forward stronger? And again, like, you would be surprised at how many times that you're vulnerable with someone and then you feel like, why did I tell them that? You know, why did I come out to them? Why did I share this with them? And it can be really frustrating and it can be a regret, and we don't want regrets. That's not a thing we're looking for. So I think you should just be very cautious and careful, and remember that you can always tell someone your vulnerabilities, but you can't take them back. So think very carefully before you let someone into your inner circle. That being said, if your inner circle is just you, I think it's time to find somebody that you can trust and you can open up to, because I don't think a human being is meant to exist without really opening up to somebody and sharing with another person their life, their goals, their dreams, their trauma, whatever they want. I think you need people in life to connect with like that. So I highly recommend it. I'm just advocating that you're careful with who exactly that is. So that's my 2 cents for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, like the video. And as always, guys, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.